IVM.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Hello and welcome to TFG Indian Football Podcast. We are at the time of the year when the domestic season is more or less over, but we have plenty of football action taking place all over the country. We have the Indian Women's League starting off on 5th of May. We've got the ongoing action of the AFC Cup where Chennaiyin FC and Minerva Punjab are playing still. And we've got very soon, I think in 5 weeks from now, we've got the King's Cup where the Indian national team has been invited for the first time, which is supposed to be a big deal if we don't screw it up by picking a coach too late who just comes in without much of an experience in Indian football and just spends the first 3 games shuffling the squad and getting to know the players and taking up losses in the process, which will be devastating because Kevin, who's with me, I just want to let him know that the victory we got against Thailand in AFC Asian Cup is literally the only ray of sunshine I've had in 2019 so far when it comes to Indian football. We will definitely face Thailand in the first game because they want revenge. That's why they have invited us to their country. And if we pick up a loss there, man, and we lose that one little sunshine or, the positive moment that we can reflect on, then we're just back to the dark ages. The gloomy nature of the Indian football fan will grip our souls again. What do you think?
So this is an invitational tournament, King's Cup it's called. So we've had quite some well-known teams going there in the past. But your reason for having India being invited, I don't know if that is true. If that was the case, then every team that India is invited for the Intercontinental or the Tri-Series, would have had an history. You will have some history of us losing or probably a revenge story. But I don't think that is the case. Just that India getting into the limelight with the qualification or at 2019 Asian Cup. I think that is the sole reason that we are probably getting the invite to be part of this. It's running for some time now, and it's a good thing to play away. We've hosted a lot of countries, but from the time we start traveling, I think that's always good. But it's kind of a revolution for India. We've hit the pinnacle of performances in the recent years. We're talking about the build-up to the Asian Cup and how we've managed to get into a group that was supposed to be helping India qualify and getting us through at least to the knockout, the next stage. But didn't work out really. So it was a test for us to really, reflect on how far we come. So King's Cup, I think, is a good way to start off a fresh season. A new coach will be appointed. David James, is it? No? Any names that you have?
Well, as far as the Indian national team coach is concerned, I think we have all heard the rumors and the way people are talking about it. It's a worst kept secret in Indian football that Albert Roca is almost certain to be appointed as the Indian national team head coach. Even John Gregory was joking about it in a Hero Super Cup press conference. He was like, Roca is not here, but I heard he's coming back, and everybody starts laughing, and he's like, that's the rumor, that's what I've heard. Obviously, this is not 100%. There are some big names in the run-up in the competition to become the next India coach. This Sven-Goran Eriksson, Sam Allardyce, both of whom would probably be disastrous, man, because they'll just come in with their European ideas and.
I think we can attract a lot of foreign coaches who've got big names in the past, who've got a history of some great triumphs in their career. Now that we've got a president who's reached places. FIFA Executive Council, it just makes a reach even more further. So wouldn't be surprised if it is not Roca and some of the big names that we are hearing, talking, probably already struck off. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a big name, not really giving in too much. But it's all there. We've reached global now.
Yeah, well, I believe in a tiered approach when it comes to improving. Right, we've had a bit of, I'm saying a bit of flurry of changes that Constantine introduced into the national team, and now I think Roca would be the logical next step. If we try too hard, if we like pay a lot of money to bring in a high-profile coach, and there's a good chance he will not have that connect with the players. He will not realize that he's used to European players or Chinese players or Japanese players who are ingrained with a certain amount of discipline, professionalism, and technical prowess, which they get because they get scouted at the age of 5 or 6. They are not in the same level. They're actually a few levels higher than the Indian players, the experience they have when they are playing for the national team. They're undertrained by 10 years compared to those other countries. And that's where there can be a gap of understanding between a coach who has always operated at the highest level of world football, be it club football, be it international football, and India, who are still struggling to get into the top 100. It might backfire. So I would say just play it cool, because our next step is not getting into the World Cup. It's getting into the next Asian Cup and maybe the second round of that Asian Cup. But one thing you have to say, Kevin, it's when others start inviting and applying I'm talking about other countries, big coaches from there, or major tournaments in other countries, when we start getting these invitations. And also, by the way, we heard from some of the Indian clubs who were getting proposals of investment from European clubs, and they were talking about how a lot of the scouts and the football analysts in Europe are pegging India as the next big power which will cross into the top 70 of world football in the next few years. That's when you know something is really paying off. All these years of investment building up. Now we are entering the stage where it's going to pay dividends. Because let's say the first match in Kings Cup, it's India versus Thailand, right? Let's say we go and beat them, because we've done it before just a couple of months ago. We beat them, then Curacao are one of the teams who are playing in the tournament. They will be facing Vietnam. They beat Vietnam in the first round. Then in the final, it's India versus Curacao. And what happens then? We're going up against a team which has players in top division European leagues all over the place. Like they've got Eloy Room, who's playing for PSV. They've got a Cardiff City player, a midfielder, Leandro Bacuna. He's in the national team. Lots of European experience in that team, and more than half the players play abroad. That's a step up. That's our next level of target. We can beat Vietnam if we go hard. We can beat Thailand. We've already done it. We've proven it. We can give a tough time to Bahrain. Next step is a country which is not 100% actualized, but has a lot of potential because of their brilliant individual players. That's and of course the FIFA rankings is now following an ELO system. So we beat Thailand. It doesn't give us much, but we beat Curacao. That's a huge leap for us and sets us up nicely for the World Cup qualifiers, which will begin just a month or two after that. So what's this? Obviously, we are a couple of months removed from Kings Cup, but we're going to build up to it in time. What do you think is going to be a good result for India, given our situation, a new coach coming in Kings Cup? 1 win or 2 wins? Or is it okay if we lose the first round and the third place match we win it, or maybe get a draw, something like that? Obviously, there will be penalties afterwards. So what do you think is a good metric for our performance in Kings Cup?
Really, Chiranjeev, I would be first taking a look at what is coming out of that camp that will be held. So that really gives you a picture of what to expect from the next one. So we've seen Constantine work on probably getting a new face to the team for the next generation. So will that be continued? Is it going to be a total transition from what we've seen, or it's going to be a total topsy-turvy. Probably looking at not the way that we've done in past 6-7 years, a new approach. That will give an example of what we can expect in the coming. That's what things are. It's going to be too soon to even judge the performance that we can expect. But what squad will be announced, that will give us a picture where we can be headed in the next 6 months, 7 months. That's very crucial, just to understand what is the philosophy that a coach is coming in. It's a big question for Indian football. When you reached a tournament which is it's a pride for Asians to be in, and if we've been invited to Thailand, and that's a great thing to do, but we need to keep that going. So if it's really something that the coach thinks this is, I think, ready-made and just take it forward, or it's going to be a total fresh of idea. Probably look at maybe getting in some PIOs, probably looking at some of the aging players to stay back, or it's going to be a total revamp. So that's the main understanding that I would be taking from the squad that will be announced. And based on that, I think then we can get a closer idea of what results to expect. It could be just a trial for us to experiment with the kind of squad, kind of philosophy that the coach is coming in with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for a lot of these players who fell out with Constantine also, Romeo or Suseraj, who was ignored for a while. A lot of new players will look at this new appointment and think, okay, we were ignored for the national team camp before this, but we might get a chance now. Very interestingly, we saw the Santosh Trophy final, right, which just happened. Services won. Congratulations to them. 1-0, sixth title for them in the 73rd Santosh Trophy. Beat the hosts Punjab. Not an easy task. One of the tightest amateur teams in the country, the Punjab state team, really holds you down. Guess what beat them? Not much. It's not like the services were very active and effective with their attacks. It was the pace of Bikash Thapa. One Bikash Thapa who was from the minute one making runs up the right wing with some excellent speed. Right? I don't want to compare him with Udanta yet because I have not seen this guy play in I-League, so I only have a relative idea of how effective his speed is in Santosh Trophy. It's going to be very different in I-League or ISL. But the point is, this guy, he was a volume attacker, right? It's not like he was going to give you crosses every time or just create chances and find the net all the time. But he was making those runs and following balls so many times, like 20-30 times a half. If you do that so many times, once or twice you're going to create a chance and you're going to convert, which is what happened in the second half. Got the goal and Services won the trophy. I'm sure his phone is going off the hook right now. All I-League and ISL teams are trying to get a hold of him, get in on that action, sign him for a season, see how he works out in the professional setting. Obviously, he's a services player, so there will be a lot of government issues and clearances which might not go in his favor. Let's see how that works out. But it just gives you an idea where all the talent can come from, right? And a foreign coach who's coming in needs to know that if you are trying to build a squad that's properly deep and reflects the talent pool that we have in Indian football, you need to understand that you can't just watch I-League or ISL or second division or even these state leagues like CFL, GPL. You have to watch the Santosh Trophy. You have to watch the likes of Subroto Cup if you're looking at the under 23 or under 19 level as well. So yeah, what do you think? Did you watch the match and what do you think of Bikash Thapa?
I did get a glimpse of how Services ramping up the attacks from the wings. But again, playing at home against Punjab, that's a difficult task. You've got muscle there. You've got some good physique playing against the speed versus physique, I think speed really did get the better of Punjab there. But it's a great way to look at your scouting. This is an old tournament, and this is looked up as a prestigious one for the likes of the old football fans. And if you can just widen up your scouting network, there's nothing like it. We've seen coaches go to the university levels to scout players for under 23s. And Santosh Trophy has always been an eye-catching tournament for the kind of quality and players that we can expect. So yes, it's a great platform for the next coach to look at to pick up some good performance from this quite an old tournament that we have in India.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I may sound like a Roka shield, but I want somebody who understands that, and Roka is one of those guys who will understand that you need to look further away from the mainstream if you really want to pick up these uncut diamonds that are available all over India, like Mizoram Premier League, Meghalaya Premier League, this Manipur State League just concluded, Neroka won, I think. It's great to have a wide lens when you're picking up players for your club or the national team at various age groups. So we have reached the middle point of this podcast. On the other side, we're going to get into AFC Cup, we're going to get into IWL, we're going to get into our president who has his reach widened all over the place in politics, in FIFA, everywhere, and doesn't seem to have any time for I-League clubs in his schedule anymore. So come back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This is a really exciting week. We've got two really big shows releasing this week. The first show is Dreaming with Your Eyes Open with Ronnie Screwwala. This is a companion podcast to Ronnie's best-selling book, Dream with Your Eyes Open. On this podcast, Ronnie shares his vast entrepreneurial experience and takeaways from each chapter with me. New episodes will be out every Tuesday, and also don't forget to listen to the audiobook. The audiobook's available for free on our website and a whole bunch of other platforms. You'll find it wherever you look for it. The second show that we're really excited about is called The Note with famous journalist and news editor Maruk Inayat. She cuts the clutter and analyzes the stories that matter to you. Join her on the podcast where she gives you pure analysis on what's happening around you. This week, she has a 3-part exclusive series about the Indian elections. Speaking of the Indian elections, also check out the latest episodes of Thale Harate, Simplified, Ganatantra, The Seen and the Unseen, Election Soundtrack, and Cyrus Says It's Cock and Bull for our thoughts on the elections. On The Seen and the Unseen, Amit Verma talks to David Bose, Executive VP of the Cato Institute, about being a libertarian in 2019 and how to deal with the resurgence of fascism and authoritarianism in politics. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Mohan Jayaraman, Regional Managing Director at Experian Asia Pacific, about credit scores and everything you need to know about them. On Geek Fruit, Tinker, Jishnu and Janam break down DC's latest entry into the DC universe, Shazam. On IVM Likes, the IVM staffers are joined by video producer Gauri Pandit to geek out over Game of Thrones. They talk at length about the final season, fan theories about the show's ending, whether the books will ever follow up, and a lot more. On Dating is Garbage, post an episode that discusses marriage, it's time to discuss live-in relationships. Kavya Bector joins the team to throw some light on arguments often raised against living in. And with that, let's get you on with your shows.
Welcome back after the break. If you listen to our show, obviously, apologies, last week there was no show because, we were traveling and being lazy. But when we left you last time, it was on a pretty sad note that we had Minerva Punjab in crisis because their venue for AFC Cup had been cancelled. And Neroka was saying if we get relegated forcefully because ISL becomes the top tier and the I-League clubs get shoved aside, then we might have to consider closing down, because what's the point if we are not even, our performance is not recognized. So it was on a bleak note. On that front, let me just tell you, this is obviously nothing is official. Nothing that happens in this situation is ever official. That's the biggest frustration. But from what it looks like is that we're not going to have any restructuring this season, like the 2019-20 season. By what East Bengal and Mohun Bagan are doing, it seems like they're going to play in I-League. That's what I am deciphering from their transfer strategy, from the way Mohun Bagan is looking for a new coach. They're playing in I-League. If they're playing in I-League, that pretty much means we've got one more year of the same, which is good if you are one of these smaller clubs like Minerva Punjab and Neroka and Gokulam, who are in threat of getting relegated if ISL becomes a top tier. It's not good if you are just looking at the whole structure and you're thinking, okay, we've got one more year of two competitions running simultaneously and more of the same, and the limbo continues. Is it a positive thing or a negative thing, do you think, Kevin?
It's touching quite a while now. We've seen almost 3 years go by where we thought this is it, and we're entering into another season where we just keep looking at an empty or dark future right ahead. Forceful relegation, teams not able to come up to promotion, to winning the league would not make sense. It still looks like we are just pushing things at the back, not really wanting to face the reality or trying to get back on track. So it really doesn't look negative in any way, because I think it's just the way of procrastinating things, and it can't be done forever. So we do know it has to come to an end, but sadly it's not coming to an end this season as well. That's how things are looking. But on the brighter side, I think it gives us more time just to understand how to get this in the right and the best way. Probably that is the reason why it's being pushed a little bit more. And yes, we can only hope some side notes that are coming up saying probably a couple of new entrants would be taken into the top tier. Again, it's not confirmed as of now, and in Indian football, unless it's coming out as an official statement, you really cannot trust anything. So, yeah, we can still be just continuing the sluggish path that we've seen, watching two different leagues, probably two different sides of the same coin, is going past us for one more season.
Yeah, it seems like an Ekta Kapoor serial that's just dragging the storyline as much as possible. But again, as you said, we get one chance to get it right. We're going to have a new structure. We're going to have ISL as top division, a couple of leagues under it. There may not be promotion relegation between ISL and the lower tiers for a while. So we have to be very sensitive, because one wrong step and a few clubs will die, which will empty out the base of our league system. So fingers crossed. As we said, we were off last week, but one of the things that we were looking forward to in the last episode was this meeting, this much hyped, much promised, much emphasized, much prophesized meeting that was going to take place between AIFF President Praful Patel and these Rebel I-League clubs. That was going to bring solutions, that was going to bring debate, that was going to deal with the tough issues and everything. It just did not happen. It turns out Praful Patel is just too busy campaigning for the Lok Sabha elections. He didn't have time to meet the I-League clubs. Obviously, this is a reply from AIFF, who said, hey, you pulled out of Super Cup anyway, so we are not obligated to hold up our side of the bargain, so you only have yourself to blame why the meeting is not happening. But it just tells you that even AIFF is like, we're going to have the same structure going on for one more year, so what's the point in dealing with the problem today when we can deal with it tomorrow, which used to be my motto during university years, just an excuse to be lazy. So yeah, do you think anything would happen if at this point or a couple of months down the line these I-League clubs get a meeting with the AIFF president and they sit down in a room, they're talking, these I-League clubs are saying, hey, merged league, unified league, 20 teams, blah blah blah, and AIFF is like, hey, Reliance is telling us they want ISL at the top and no promotion relegation franchisee fees. That doesn't seem like a middle ground is even in the question, does it?
No, obviously not. But what will happen is, since if AFF does decide to go ahead and meet teams, there will be a small convening of a word on how to even put the thing straight for the ID clubs. I think there will be a meeting within the committee, within the AFF executive committee, to understand what can be presented as at least a temporary roadmap or temporary solution to the question that the I-League clubs have raised. So obviously there won't be a clear-cut picture. We've seen, it's been dragging too long, and there will be nothing given to the I-League clubs because we know there's nothing in place as of now. So it's going to be empty words from the AIFF to serious questions and by these I-League clubs. It's going to be dragged. It's going to be a statement that we've seen somewhere in the past, just shuffle of words probably, and that's going to be it. But I do believe the meeting should happen because it's just too much voice raised against this. So I think it will be right for at least a meeting to go ahead and just come out with an empty statement like we've seen it before.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this is gonna get a very exciting climax with a hand wrestling between Ranjit Bajaj and Praful Patel. Whoever wins gets to say what kind of league we'll have. That would be a good way to solve things. But
I won't be surprised if there are more sanctions applied to anybody.
Yeah, obviously. Talking about sanctions, that a matter of the punishment for I-League clubs who pulled out of Super Cup, that has been forwarded to the disciplinary committee. So that's another cloud that's hanging over these clubs' head that we need to keep an eye out for. Obviously, one good thing has happened, though. One purely positive thing is that Kushal Das, AIFF General Secretary, spoke to AFC, Asian Football Confederation. He explained to them what problem Minerva Punjab are facing regarding the venue for the AFC Cup. It's not their fault. It's the Odisha government which pulled out of their agreement because they want to renovate the stadium for under-17 Women's World Cup that will happen next year. That's why they are without a stadium now. So AFC has decided not to fine. From what we understand, Minerva Punjab will not be fined, and they will have a few weeks to figure out where their next home game will take place. So the 1st of May, Minerva Punjab versus Manang Marsyangdi club from Nepal. That is going to happen in Kalinga Stadium as planned. After that, they've got 18 more days to find where they're going to hold the rest of home matches in AFC Cup. Talking about AFC Cup, perfect segue. We had 2 matches on 17th of April, and Minerva Punjab got held to a draw away from home by Dhaka Abahani, and Chennaiyin FC continued their winning run. Their first game was a draw, but they've had some good wins in the Super Cup. They beat Manang Marsyangdi club 2-0 at home. Now, Minerva Punjab got held to a draw. It was a pretty interesting and entertaining game, but not an easy thing to do for Indian clubs anymore to go to Bangladesh and get a draw. It's like Bengaluru FC lost in Bangladesh. We had Mohun Bagan getting held to a draw. We've had Aizawl FC suffer before against Bangladeshi clubs. They've got some really good scouting for foreign players, and Chizoba is there. By the way, Chizoba used to play in I-League for a couple of different clubs. He's playing for them. He got a goal against Minerva Punjab. So it seems like so far so good for Indian clubs. Not a single loss in AFC group stage.
Thankfully, the season is coming together for Chennaiyin FC, who had really a terrible form as defending ISL champions. Although things started to pick up towards the end of the season, so this looks like the right way to go forward, and it's all that the club would want to do well at the continental level, because not every season you get a chance to be there. This is obviously the first time that we see in an ISL team be and great things for Chennai happening there. Unbeaten 2 games again. There's only one team that's going through. So it's going to be all difficult things coming up for Minerva, because that draw against Abahani, I think it's always tricky to go there, as you said, Chiranjeev. So it's going to be advantage to Chennaiyin FC there, having got that win. And Minerva already have to put up the socks, because there's no second place going anywhere. So there's one winner out of this group, and that right now it's looking good for Chennaiyin FC.
Yeah, they are getting their form back right in time, just when the doctor ordered. So that's what's happening in the AFC Cup. The campaign will continue on 30th and the 1st of May, when both of them have matches in their respective home matches. Let's see. Hopefully 2 wins for Indian clubs in AFC Cup next week. We've got the Indian Women's League also starting up, and this is very interesting what's happening this time. It's 14 teams who have been qualified for the final round, who have won the qualifiers from different states, and they're going to be playing. The matches will take place in Guru Nanak Stadium, Ludhiana, and it's the biggest women's league ever. Like, the first one was some 6 or 8 teams. Next one was 10 teams. This time they have really upped the ante, and they're going to have 14 clubs. It's actually bigger than I-League or ISL if you look at it. I-League is 11 clubs. ISL is 10 clubs. IWL 14 clubs. This is the biggest. This is the, one venue. I get it. But technically this is the biggest football league in the country, in terms of how many teams are out there, in terms of how many Indian players are out there. By the way, less foreign players, like 2 or 3 foreign players allowed per team, which means the number of Indian players in a league far exceeds I-League or ISL. Positive step, or not?
Yeah, and the focus will be there on the women's, knowing that next year we are having the World Cup, the Under-17 Women's World Cup happening in India. So not really looking at any scouting happening from this team, although it should have been that way. Right now there are no women's leagues going on to even consider that.
Hey, dude, there's the national championship for the junior girls is happening in Kolhapur, so the scouting will happen there. So everything is falling into place, dude. You got to give credit where it's due.
It is right after the bid was put out. I think it's not the approach that we had been seeing for a long time. So it's like you ordered for something big to come into your house, but you suddenly realize, okay, things are really not in the right shape. We need to start looking at little more arrangement, little more space to be given out, and that's how it is. You see things coming at your end, and then that's when you start doing makeshift arrangements. So that's the kind of thing we're seeing in Indian football. But yes, things are working out. Women's football will be given a lot of focus in the next year, till at least the World Cup is complete. Hopefully, we do much better than what we see in the boys' team do. So yes, right steps in the proper direction. Hopefully, looking for some good turnout for the matches as well. I think that's more important. If we can draw crowds to the 14-team league, I think it's a positive sign for any team.
Yeah, and you know that AIFF is really serious about drawing crowd to the matches, because they're playing in a stadium which has functional floodlights. We've had I-League matches taking place there in the evening, 7 or 8 p.m. kickoffs. That's why the matches are kicking off at 8 a.m., 11:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. because they want people to come to the matches, right? On a Tuesday morning, like you got your schools, your colleges, your offices, and you're thinking, okay, let me skip all my work and let's go watch a football match. That is the normal thought process of a fan who wants to get into watching football, especially women's football, right? So you can tell that they really want a crowd to be there. Hopefully the matches will be live streamed on anywhere. Basically, we'll take anything, whatever we can get. We just want to watch the action. We know that's not going to be TV coverage, but at least on the internet, please put it out there, AIFF. Coming back to something you raised, it's single venue. It's still single venue. It's the third season of IWL. It's expanding. We can see there is good planning, but not yet a home away structure that they're considering for the Indian Women's League. And goes back to the point that these clubs don't want to spend on travel, don't want to spend on different developing different infrastructure, don't want to maintain that kind of traveling schedule or the full season teams that the men's team enjoy, which is hugely detrimental. Because what is this? This is like a 15-16 day tournament at the end of the day, where every other day they're going to play a match. And what is this? They're just going to room together in the youth hostels of Ludhiana and 3 weeks later go home. That's not how a league works, right?
Yeah, this is what we're talking about. The increasing the number of teams really doesn't improve the quality or the real sense of developing talent, or even testing yourselves on different pitches, different working schedule. If you're really in one place, every second, third day you'll be playing, that really doesn't account for too much, and it also leads to a lot of injury problems, fatigue problems. Recovery will be lesser.
By the way, they will be playing in the afternoon in May, right? I mean, we've seen what that does to players.
That's always perfect for leagues or cup tournaments, Federation Cup, you call it Super Cup. It's been the state from the time we started seeing the fallout of big teams from Indian football. It's there, it's not changing, and this is one point that we've always started to look forward to. Is this going to be improving? No. We've got 2 World Cups coming in within the span of few years. We won't be surprised if another couple of tournaments are being hosted at the FIFA, at the global level, but things just keep continuing. There has to be an end to this. There has to be something to be stepped into, or probably get the bottom-up approach, but it's solely on the surface. It's very superficial, and it just won't change anything below it.
Yeah, it's the chicken and the egg scenario. What is going to come first? Are we going to sit here and expect the football's popularity to just increase organically and magically, and returns coming, and then we will invest? Or will there be a push from AIFF to women's football? Will we see a bold step up, kind of, let's say, incentivized step that they can take by telling I-League and ISL teams, like, at least in the qualifiers, you need to put out a team. You need to put out a women's team and be active in the women's football business. There's an argument out there that for clubs like Gokulam Kerala FC, for East Bengal Mohun Bagan, Neroka, Aizawl, for clubs like them, women's football goes a long way in developing the club's brand and adding value to it. But again, that will take a long discussion, which we'll have to keep for another day. For now, though, it seems like although Indian Women's League is seeing a periodic approach, a slow approach towards slowly developing, but so far it has not changed its look, it has not changed its feel. It's still like the senior nationals, where the players are gathered in one place and quick fire, you play every other day and suddenly it's over, and the players just don't get that full season approach that they really need to be competitive at the world level. Once again, if we are thinking about qualifying for the World Cup, women are our best shot, because they're in the top 40 or top 50 in world football. We are not even, the men are not even top 100. So, yeah, let's see how that works out. Let's see with the Under-17 World Cup, we see a very improved IWL being launched to correspond with that. And in Indian women's football takes off, like, get DD Sports to show a few matches. And if you're showing it on Facebook, you might as well show it on DD Sports. We got a politician as AIFF president. Come on, pull some connections, make something happen for us. What is the point of having politicians if they can't pull those connections and help the sport? That's it for this time. We will come back next week with a detailed preview of some of the teams that we're gonna have in IWL. It's Gokulam Kerala FC is the only ISL or I-League team which has presence in this, but we've got some other stalwarts like Rising Students Union, Eastern Sporting, who were the previous 2 editions champions, who have the backing of Tata, and Odisha well represented. We've got the IFF Women's League champion also entering, and I'll have a few words to say about that. Like, IFA has restarted the Women's League. What is East Bengal and Mohun Bagan doing? Why are they not part of it? All that next week as we review what is happening in AFC Cup and build up to Indian Women's League. And maybe we'll have an announcement on who is officially the next head coach of the Indian men's national team. So a lot still going on, a lot to look forward to. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. You can get all the news and updates on Indian football on thefangarage.com and at the TFG football Twitter handle. Till then, this is me, Chiranjit, and Kevin with me. We're saying goodbye. See you next week.
How does one separate news from opinion? I'm Mahrukh Inayat, a news junkie, but not a big fan of debates. I love facts, and I like to stick to them. No frills, just pure analysis. This election season, is Balakot a game changer for 2019? Did Priyanka Gandhi Vadra join politics too late? The Chowkidar Wars. Who's really winning? I will cut the clutter and analyze the stories that matter to you.
You can listen to the show on the IVM Podcasts app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Long, long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says, a show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien, who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday and Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It's simple as A, B, oh God, what comes after that?